Welcome to Double Door Studios. My name is Rohan and I am the CEO of Dream Street Media. I have the distinct pleasure of sitting with some wonderful guests that happen to be running for City Council. And so I just want to give them the opportunity to introduce themselves.
Hi everyone, my name is Danielle Browne and I'm a Democratic candidate for Mount Vernon City Council. I'm actually at position 11A on the ballot.
Hello everyone, my name is Ed Poteat. I'm position 13A on the ballot and I'm running for Mount Vernon City Council.
Hi, I'm Cathlin Gleason. I'm running for Mount Vernon City Council, 12A.
I hope that's right. You might got somebody a bunch of votes. But anyway, it's row A all the way, just in case you forget. You know, if you like what you're hearing here, row A all the way. But let's dig in a little bit. So guys, first of all, you guys are all first time running for City Hall. Anybody had any previous experience in City Hall at all?
Not at City Hall, but I am a Mount Vernon Public Library trustee.
Mount Vernon Public Library, but not city, no government experience previously.
No.
Wow. So I gotta ask, why politics at this stage of the game? What draw you to it? Starting with you, Danielle.
Well, for me, it's really about, Mount Vernon raised me. I grew up in Mount Vernon. I went through the public system here. So a lot of people in Mount Vernon invested in me. And I went away for a while for school, went for work. And when I came back, I saw all of the chaos and things that were happening here in Mount Vernon. And it was a poor reflection on the city. I had people from out of the city contacting me about some of the things. And you know, a lot of people my age wanted to move out of the city. So I felt like something needed to be done about it, and I thought it's best that I be the change that I want to see and try to run a campaign and change the culture of politics, really.
Wow, that's a tall order, but it's a noble task. What about you, Ed? Tell me a little about your background, like, you know, where you're from and like why politics now?
Politics, right? So, you know, I tell folk I hate politics. I like governing, but I hate politics. I grew up in subsidized housing. I grew up in Harlem a long time ago. I moved to Mount Vernon 15 years ago. And I just think what was happening with governance wasn't correct. It wasn't right. And it was hurting the people most who needed government to be correct. Mm-hmm. So I decided to throw my hat in the ring. Again, not because I wanted to be a politician or to be known at City Hall, but to govern correctly because we need good governance here in Mount Vernon. We are the jewel of Westchester. And if you hear me speak, you'll hear me say that over and over again, because I really do believe that. We're the diamond in the rough, but we, as government, just have to make sure that we polish that diamond off so that we can govern correctly for the people of Mount Vernon. So that's why I threw my hat in the ring, because I honestly felt that I and we could do a better job compared to what we saw in City Hall, and especially in City Council previously.
Gotcha. Mm-hmm.
So I have been involved in Mount Vernon politics, I would say, since I was about 13 years old.
Uh-huh. In what way? Like, how would you?
Volunteering at the Mount Vernon Democratic Party. My father was very involved. And my mother was very involved, and my father was actually the fire commissioner here in the city of Mount Vernon. Both my brother, my husband, and my brother-in-law were police officers here in the city of Mount Vernon, so I know the administrative end of it, and I know the rank and file end of things. But I spent a majority of my adult life really volunteering here in the city of Mount Vernon. I'm also president of the Soup Kitchen CSA Associate, Community Service Associates, Inc. That operates the largest soup kitchen, so I've seen a lot of what plagues Mount Vernon also.
Right.
I also serve as a planning board member, so I get to actively participate in some of the things that come into the city of Mount Vernon, whether it be residential or development, small housing, you know, a lot of different projects that have come into the city of Mount Vernon. I became frustrated, not really having a voice I helped to help elect a lot of our elected officials. I actively am an active Democrat here in the city of Mount Vernon.
Right.
And I feel like I needed elected officials to work more for the people. And the more we wanted to run, I mean, it's a campaign, but it was more of a movement for the three of us.
Really?
We really wanted to engage everybody in the community. We felt like that part of the job was lost. And sometimes when you were going to different meetings, you weren't sure if the people were really being heard.
Right.
So when we were knocking on all the doors that we knocked on, there were a lot of people that had just said, I'm not going to vote. And we spent a lot of time talking to these people and trying to give them more hope. And that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to run a campaign / movement. I call it a movement because it really was. We were able to give people hope that this community could be far better than where we are. Has it been worse in the past? Absolutely it has.
Right.
Are things going to change January 1st? No, they're not going to change January 1st. But you have three people that are willing to take their time and work with the people and work with the administration, not rubber stamp. Work with the administration so that we could work as a team.
Well, what is that rubber stamp? What's rubber stamp? Because I mean, I was in politics. I served as a district leader,
Okay.
I think like a century ago, and for just a quick run. But so but I'm like you guys, I'm not really a politician, but I kind of like the idea of change. But then you see things, and then it kind of makes you kind of like, wait,
Jaded.
what?
But then you can't give up. That's the thing. And I think that's what happens in Mount Vernon is that instead of people getting involved, really involved, like we really stepped out of a comfort zone to get involved. And with that, saying a rubber stamp, a lot of people think because the mayor endorsed us that we would just do everything that the mayor wants. We've already had very, very serious and, serious discussions about what the community wants for the city of Mount Vernon. And, we're not always going to agree on something, but we're not going to embarrass the city of Mount Vernon anymore. Right. What we want to do is make sure that we have a collaborative effort to move Mount Vernon forward. It's a movement. It's not a campaign slogan. This is a movement. There are people that love to live here in the city of Mount Vernon, and they want the city to succeed.
And what we want is not unlike any other city that is successful in government, right? Collaboration is typical. You have these three branches essentially of government who work together to do what's best for the residents. And I think we've kind of lost sight of that here. This is our opportunity to get it back.
That's good. That's good.
And what's, I think, special about us is we all bring important skills to governance, but we also don't bring egos. And for so long, you had city council members who were good people. I'm not dissing any of them, and I know several of them. But they were more interested in themselves than the city of Mount Vernon. They were more interested in trying to figure out how to get to that next level, how to be county legislator, how to be mayor, even if it meant not doing what's right for the city. So we swore, and we swear now, and we promise that we are going to, hopefully once we become city council members after November 2nd, we will stay in that seat and that seat only for the next 4 years. And it's important because we have so much work that needs to happen here in Mount Vernon. It's crucial that you have council members who want to do the work without ego, but just simply get the work done.
So let me ask you something about that, because in talking, so I got a very clear understanding that you grew up in civil service, you were connected to it, you were kind of reared in that. So that's the background that you come from. You pretty much have been serving all the way through, so this is another phase of it. Mm-hmm. But what are the backgrounds that you guys came from? Like, what world are you leaving to step into city council?
Sure. I've studied governance for 25 years now. I started out as a fellow working for the state in economic development back when Andrew Cuomo, Mario Cuomo's last year.
Okay.
Then I had a career, still have a career, building affordable housing throughout New York City.
Wow. So you build affordable housing projects.
Right.
Wow. Okay.
And having grown up in government subsidized housing, and I was born in a tenement, And so that I saw what government subsidized housing did for my family. Because with all the headaches and issues of growing up poor, at least we didn't have to worry about housing. We had to worry about everything else, but just not housing. And so I wanted to give that gift back when I graduated from undergrad. So I've been doing that for 20 plus years.
That's awesome.
I also have my master's in urban planning from Hunter.
Okay.
I wrote a book about governance and about how cities fail fiscally and what that means to the citizens when a city is failing fiscally.
So let me ask you a question. Based off of what you just said right there,
Sure.
your background, your qualifications, and all of the things, because it sounds like you were planning to do this, even though you probably were never planning to do this. It's like I studied everything pertaining to government and building houses and doing good things for everyone. So I mean, that's pretty impressive, very impressive. What is one thing that you would personally take under your belt to use your background to change when you get into office?
Yeah. So you've had a history in here in Mount Vernon of developers coming here, benefiting themselves and not benefiting the residents of Mount Vernon. And you've had, again, not calling out anyone, but you've had members of City Hall bending over backwards for developers and thinking that we should be happy and lucky that anyone shows up to then do something here. I realize being in that community, that's the complete wrong way to look at developers and development in our city. It needs to be, first, what do we want as a community, right? What type of job development, economic development, residential development we want as a city? Where do we want density? Where do we want entertainment spaces? And then saying, here's our plan. Now, developers, you are free to come in, but if you don't follow what our plan is, we don't want you. And when I say that Mount Vernon's the jewel of Westchester, it really is. A lot of developers would die to be here. We just aren't marketing to them. We also, as a city government, aren't providing stability and consistency to developers. So they play on that they say, well, we know Mount Vernon has a bad story, has a bad history. You should be happy that we're here. So I think we understand as a part of our role, if we can bring that stability and consistency, and part of that is to stop the infighting, just to stop the lawsuits that come from various segments of but all that plays in.
Right, absolutely.
If we can provide that to to groups that want to be here, then we can make demands on them and say, here's the trade-off. We will give you the jewel of Westchester. We will give you consistency and stability in city government. But our trade-off is you have to give us what we want and what's good for our residents. And then what does that mean? Jobs for local residents, contracts for local businesses, and then building products where we want them to be, not where they want them to be. So that's part of the reason that I decided to run, because I just saw that not happening. And it's actually fairly easy. You just need people in City Hall and in City Council that understand how to make that happen.
Right.
And I think, just to touch on what Ed said and to build on it, when people come into the city of Mount Vernon, whether they move here or whether they develop here, they have to have a trust in government, okay? And right now, they don't respect our government. We have to bring trust and respectability back to the city of Mount Vernon. We have to demand more, from our residents also, not just to outsiders that are coming in. We have to make sure that the quality of life is where it should be, where people want to stay here.
Yeah, that's true.
We have to make sure that our streets are clean, our streets are paved, our police officers, firemen, and DPW have equipment that they're not worried that they might kill themselves in. Okay? I mean, there's a lot that needs to be done here in the city of Mount Vernon, a lot of work, and it really does go beyond the job title of city council person. And I think that I've heard too many times over the course of 20 years is that's not the job of a city council person. But I see a city council person in a much different perspective, and so does Danielle and Ed. We have to be a partner to our community. We have to be out there. We have to be at the things, not just the birthday parties and the graduations and stuff like that. We have to walk our neighborhoods.
Right.
We have to see what's in those neighborhoods and identify where the issues are, because each council member serves over committees, finance and planning, public safety, human resources,
legislation,
okay?
and public works.
And I don't want to just sit in the seat, read a piece of paper, and that be legislation. And we all agreed on that, okay? We all agree that when we knocked on people's doors, this is not going to be the last time you see Ed, Danielle, and Cathlin. We have to constantly go out to the community and find out what they need and what they are not getting, so that we can be that liaison to the government and make sure, yes, it's a legislative position, but people look to you for help.
Right.
And that's what we need to continue to do.
That's great. That's awesome. That's awesome. So Danielle, so what what were you doing before you said, you know what, I'm gonna run for city council? What were you doing?
So I'm actually an attorney. I own my own law firm, and currently I work with, people who want to start up businesses, who need contracts, who want to protect their brand with trademark, intellectual property, those type of things. And also, I help families get estate plans in place so that they, their loved ones can grieve them properly after they pass away. So that's really my core. Prior to that, I was with the Atlanta Dream, the WNBA team, over their business and legal affairs. So had the opportunity to run all of their business departments and, really build out their legal department, because I was the first legal person in there. So, I have a lot of experience with running a business and identifying and evaluating inefficiencies and how to make things more systematic so that, every customer's experience is the same. And I think we need that here in Mount Vernon, because you can go to City Hall and get 12 different answers if you go 12 different times, right? So I think that has caused a lot of frustration with residents, and I think my prior experiences, and even my experience now, because I will still own the law firm, will be able to benefit the residents of Mount Vernon.
That's awesome. So, that's awesome, because I feel like there's a lot of unique perspective that is outside of the scope of what, kind of run-of-the-mill, this is what we do and this is why. And I think that the prospect of that is pretty exciting, but just a diverse background of experience, but yet somewhat always closely related to serving. And to, so I think that's pretty key. So I want to ask everybody, give everyone the opportunity to speak to, what would be the first thing that you would do based off of your experience and the things that you've been through? What's the first thing that you would want to take under the wing and deliver?
So I think that we kind of already started that.
Okay.
So to go into office January 1st, you can't just go in and
Hey, I'm here.
Hey, I'm here.
Right.
So what Ed, Danielle, and myself have been doing, we have already sat down with some of the commissioners, finding out what their needs are and how we can legislate for them. One of the things that Ed is tasked with, which he'll talk about, is chairing the comprehensive plan, and he has asked me to be his co-chair. So we have been working on that because, again, we want to be able to have this comprehensive plan, and Ed will go into it further why it's so important. We want to be able to go in January 1st, and hopefully within 90 days to 6 months, have like a really good form together to go out to the public with. Okay, it's almost completed. It's a document that we absolutely need, especially when it comes to development coming into the city of Mount Vernon. So that's one of the first things I want to do. Parallel to that, because again, it's not easy to identify. One of the things we have to look into is the financial stability of the city.
Uh-oh.
And that's where, yeah, so, and that's where Darren Morton's going to come in. Darren Morton has got an incredible background that I'm sure you'll speak to him about later on. And we'll be supporting them, and we'll be doing whatever the city council needs to do to be able to get that work done. And if that means having to sit down and getting our own hands dirty to be able to get through the paperwork and figure things out, we're ready to do it.
All right.
And also to support our first responders. Our first responders, unfortunately, have not had a contract in 4 years. Does City Council have any pull with that? No, but we can advocate for them. And, I think after everything that we've gone through the pandemic, we need to really put our first responders ahead.
Yeah.
And we believe that that is very important for the city of Mount Vernon because we can't keep asking them to save our lives when we're risking theirs.
Wow, well said, powerful. Wow, well said, very well said, very well said. So Danielle, tell me what is, based on your background and the things that kind of really attracted you to City Hall, what is the first thing that you would tackle? Wait a minute, because I feel like we're about to have a Mike Pence moment.
Right
You
here.
know, like, I don't even understand what's happening right now. I don't know what's
I was thinking the same
I don't
thing.
know.
What's
You know,
happening?
it's crazy. You know, so listen,
Oh
if it
my
goes down, no
goodness.
names, okay? We're not doing any
He's
names.
working for the
If there's something,
opposition.
if there's anything going on, there's no names, okay?
Is that a drone?
Flies in
I
the
don't know. I don't know.
spy.
Yeah, so you know, so this is not main material. I'm just putting that out there, okay, just in case.
So wait,
you know, I got a big beard. If it jumps in there, you know, no names, please. I'm cutting it out. It's my company anyway.
One thing I have to tell you that there is no way that anybody through this campaign from February to now had a better time than the three of us.
That's
Right.
right.
Why is that? Why is that? Why do you guys have much fun? I mean, aside from
I think-
tonight, because you know you guys.
Right. This is,
There
this
you
is
go,
definitely the
there you
highlight.
go.
This is definitely the highlight.
This is definitely the highlight, but
We know how to laugh, you know.
We know how to laugh. We take, bad situations, turn them into something that's positive. We ran a very positive campaign. We had a lot of shooters out there looking at us. but-
Well, you got to be careful with that word shooters.
I know, right?
Like, whoa. No, I'm joking.
Shots taken.
Yeah,
But, we're a family, we're a team.
that's awesome. That's
And
exciting.
I think that, that's the best part of Mount Vernon is, if you find out somebody's from Mount Vernon, you're like, you already have trust in that person.
Well, listen, that's
You know?
awesome. I get a sense of that hanging out with you guys. It's kind of cool. Feels like
Yeah, we make fun of each other, we
Yeah.
poke at
Oh
each
yeah.
other.
If you'd have seen what was going on before the cameras were rolling, I was like,
What are you talking
I
about?
was gonna call me too. I was like, I don't know.
Just don't ask that man.
Oh man. But that's exciting. So but yeah, we were getting
Yeah,
to
so one of the first things I think that as a council that the residents are frustrated with is the lack of transparency. So and the inefficiency. So I think that'd be low-hanging fruit for us to go in and make sure the administration currently is getting in new software that'll help bring more transparency to the legislation process. But I think even in our processes for how you get on an agenda, where you receive the meeting materials, exactly, how we upload and receive materials from developers who want to come into the city. I think if we make that more transparent, we can start to gain back some of the trust that has been lost over the years, right? So I think that's some of the things that we need to work on almost immediately. Look, we can do that day one. There's a ton of things that need to be done in Mount Vernon that you can't do day one, but we can start to work on those things day
Right,
one.
absolutely.
So I think that, we get in and we kind of set those ground rules and then we build from there.
Right. So that's good stuff, and that's exciting. And I think just from the answers shared, I feel as if you guys are well equipped to actually kind of maybe take a stab at pulling that off. So that's pretty good. But that being said, now we know that the climate in Mount Vernon politically is, for lack of a better word, challenged. We have unique challenges that face the municipality, and we, like some of these challenges are not so easily solved. In terms of, if it was an easy thing, then everybody would have done it, and then Mount Vernon's problems would be a thing of the past. And we know all municipalities have problems, but there are some unique things and some unique situations happening here. What is the plan that you guys have to kind of begin the process of changing the tide of how things function over there? And we'll start with you, Caitlin.
I would have started with Danielle first because I really believe in what she has said about this particular subject. What we can control is ourselves and how we react to things and how we carry ourselves. So if you want to carry yourself like a cartoon character, you're not going to really be able to govern, correct? If you want to go out there like you're about to go into a boxing match, that's not going to get you anywhere. So it has a lot to do with communication. And, I can only control how I react and how I carry myself. I'm still Marge and Jimmy Gleason's daughter, and I respect them very much. They're no longer here.
Wow.
So I would never do anything to embarrass them. So, and I have my faith, I don't want to do something to somebody else that I don't want unto me. So, like I said, controlling how you react to things and how you go about discussing things with different elected officials, I think that says a lot about you.
Yeah.
That's good. Ed, what do you think?
To be clear, the problem of Mount Vernon or in Mount Vernon isn't the people in Mount Vernon at all. The people here are wonderful, right? Diverse, wonderful. We all work hard. We're a family here. The problem has been City Hall, right? And the infighting has a real cost to our city that it's hard to calculate, but it's very negative. One, look at the lawsuits, right? The lawsuits alone is costing our city millions of dollars that could go towards services by itself. It's driving out the business community that wants to be here because we're right by New York City. We have 3 train stations that all can get you into Grand Central within 18 minutes. But they don't want to be here because of the infighting in City Hall. Us running as a slate is very important. There were certain people that loved Danielle but didn't like me, or loved Cathlin, didn't like me, or liked me and didn't like Danielle or Cathlin. A few. One or two. Everyone likes Cathlin. And we told everyone, you have to get our slate in. Why is that important? Because we represent 3 out of 5 votes in City Council. And so as long as we stay unified, and we will stay unified, and we've made a commitment, like we keep saying, to work with our comptroller, Reverend Darren Morton, who's wonderful, and our mayor, there's a lot that we can get done because it's collaboration. And I think that's what's been missing in City Hall is a spirit of collaboration. Absolutely. Oftentimes people vote council members in to then check the mayor or check the comptroller. And we're not, like Cathlin said, rubber stamps. We are not. We're all very strong-minded people, but we understand our success is in working with each other, not working individually. As I like to say, a hand is strong when it's a fist, but fingers can be broken off. As long as we stay as strong as a fist, there's a lot that we can get done here in Mount Vernon and plan to get done.
That's true, but if you ever got poked in the eye, it's just hell, man. But no, I agree with you 100%. I think that if there was a coming together of just say, that would be just the perfect place to start, just some form of consensus that, because with the infighting, the people are suffering. The policies are suffering. The first responders are suffering, and it's
and it's not their fault.
Yeah,
it's not their fault.
Right.
And this is something that we, like I said, we have to advocate for the people of Mount Vernon. We got to advocate for the workers, and we have to advocate for the business owners. We have to advocate for the whole community, not just sit in the seat. And we can't vote how we feel. We have to vote what the community wants. Right. Mm-hmm. It's about the community. If they don't want something or it doesn't fit, we have to look at other avenues.
Well, let me ask you a question, and we're going to get to you in a second, Danielle, to respond to that question. But let me ask you something about that. You said you have to vote how you feel, but you can't reject or not go with what the community wants.
No. What I'm saying is, I could stand up there as Cathlin Gleason, okay, and say, right. Listen, I don't want that next to my house, okay? Mm-hmm. But the reality is, I should not be voting how Cathlin Gleason wants to vote. Right. I should be voting how my community wants.
That's right there now. So I'm just gonna throw some caveats out there because if you guys make it as elected officials, which root for.
When we make it.
Yeah, when you guys make it.
There you go.
Thank you.
But there's going to be these things, these interesting situations. So what happens when when your constituents are kind of pulling for a thing, but you being a civil servant lifelong know that that's not necessarily the route that it has to go, and you may have to kind of do the reverse of what you were saying. What does that kind of situation look like for you?
Well, I have to do what my community wants. I'm representing them. I've done it as a Democratic district leader, gone to the administration, about things that maybe I didn't agree with, but I have to represent. I have to represent my community. You're always going to have a conflict in some way, and what I would do is advocate for the community, but I would also give them all the information that they need to make an educated, what's the word I'm looking for? Decision. So I'm not going to just, and it comes to transparency, okay? A lot of times people come to city council very angry because they missed a notice or missed a notification that a building's going up. And we need to make more of an effort electronically, however we need to make sure that the people have all their information before we decide we're going to vote on something. We don't have districts for council members here in the city of Mount Vernon. It's citywide. So that doesn't mean, you know, I'm not going to go down the west side, the east side, the south, or the north. I have to go all over and make sure that everybody has all the accurate information, give them the accurate information so they can have the tools to be able to make their own decisions. And if they come to me and I totally support something and they don't, I have to vote the way they want. You have to represent your community.
That's interesting. Well said.
I think a key to something Cathlin said is giving people the information, right? So oftentimes you'll come and advocate, or some residents will come and disagree with a project or anything. As a city council member, I think it's our job to actually say, okay, I hear what you said. Here's the other side of it. How do you feel after you receive that information?
Right.
Are you sticking with what you originally came here with, or now that you have a little bit more information, do you think it's best for the community? And we haven't really been giving them those options. Oftentimes, you'll go to a city council meeting, you'll complain about something, and that'll be the last time you heard about that something. And I think we have to do a better job of addressing the issues that people come to city council with.
And let me give you one example of how we plan to actually get that done. The comprehensive plan, which is crucial for the city, that we're growing at the seams, yet we're under tax revenue, right? So that spills out to lack of contracts for our civil servants, lack of infrastructure, lack of a capital plan, because we don't have the funding to actually get that done. So how then do we grow as a city? So we're working on the comprehensive plan. We can finish it in 6 months, right? There's one that was done 10 years ago that's almost in fighting form. So we can wrap that up in 6 months. We're going to take 12 to 18 months. Why? Because the other half of that time is going to be just outreach. And as politicians, we know how to campaign. The outreach for the comp plan will be like a campaign. We'll be in every church, in every corner, on the west side, the east side, the south side, the north side, just making sure that people know, and not just sitting in City Hall saying, we finished the comp plan in 6 months, here's what it is, but saying, okay, here's what we did, tell us what you think about it. So that once it's done in 12 or 18 months, the entire city buys off on it, not just the 5 members of City Council.
So let me ask you a question about that, because sometimes you have a situation, right, where you're always up against these conflicting forces, right? And so you have something that needs to get done and needs to get done quickly. But then you also are approaching it the way you just suggested with, getting consensus. But in similar fashion to the question that I asked Cathlin, it's what happens when you need to get something done fast, and then the push for consensus starts to become something that adds to the quagmire of things not getting done and then deflating the base. So, how do you handle the other side of that?
Well, we stop needing things to be done fast. Right, I think a lot of it is we're always putting out fires. We haven't been proactive in years, and we have to change that, right? So the putting it out fast stuff becomes because people haven't been serving in the role that they should be serving in. So that's first and foremost. Jesus, I'm struggling over words here. So I think we change that, and we change that by creating legislation that creates policies and procedures throughout City Hall. All right, I think that is going to be one of the most pivotal things that we do, is start creating these policies and procedures so that people know exactly how to get a process done. So we don't need a zoning done in a week, a rezoning done in a week because somebody came in. No, well, here's the procedure, how you get it done, and that's that. You stick to that, and that's it. So I think we need to stop putting out fires. Yeah.
I agree.
Slam dunk. Okay. She did say
I'm a hooper. Hello.
Yeah, she played basketball.
Right here.